Hello and welcome back to Paddle Daily's coverage of the 2025 Devised at Westminster. We are going to be going live from Reading in just a couple of minutes, but before we get there, let's recap some of the action we've seen from earlier today.
Very delicate landing amongst the swans there. Three, 6, 8 off, and here we 3, 4, 5 going through.
Well done, guys.
Pretty much net zero with Tom, right? 23 minutes and 11 seconds with a full instruction. Yep. And they try to bring a 23 behind you. You are up on Joe. Joe's points are up on Joe. And you are 13 minutes 45 in front of them. More than that now. Still 5 minutes from Joe. 5 minutes from Joe and net zero on. Completely on schedule. Well, up, Bob, great work, yeah? Make sure you're fueling, yeah? You've got 2 more taxis coming through. You've got quite a while till Joe's going to be on you. You just get tapping. Make sure you're fueling properly, make sure you're drinking properly. Long old way to go, bub.
So Bob, Paul and Tibbet from Way coming through. Well done, Bob, Paul. Nicely lit up there.
Really bright light.
That's because Billy Butler's using Tango Charlie lights.
Yeah, I know Billy loves his
Hello, checkpoint!
Go Billy! Well done, John.
Thank you! Thank you for sitting out in the cold.
How's the eyesight?
It's alright.
Dan and David.
Dan Palmer, David Horton. Look at those bright lights. So they've got a bike with them too.
They've got a bike illuminating the way.
Yep.
Well done, Dan and David. Looking good, looking good. Very nice.
Looks fairly smooth.
Paul and Kirk in
Well
the
done,
CG.
guys.
That's nicely through. Very, very smooth.
Okay, all right. So we've got SPAT and SPAT here in Newbury, and
Go on, Escort.
maybe we should put you on.
Oh, narrow miss with a swan.
Okay. Let's go to let's put the video.
What a Joe Brindy. Looking good. 3, 2, 1. Start the stopwatch.
Go Tom and Andy.
Well done, Tom and Andy. There's only 2 Andy buckets.
So there's just a little snippet of what we saw earlier today from Newbury, from Pusey, from Hungerford. And we've got more action to come this evening as our crew is getting to Dreadnaught to film the next stretch of our coverage of the DW 2025. Right now, we've got a tight race at the top with the top 5 crews separated by just about 8 minutes right now. We should be getting live coverage underway in the next 10 minutes. In the meantime, we'll try and get you some updated leaderboards from around the course. So we have some big movement here at the top of the leaderboard. As we're waiting still for our stream to get set up here in Reading, we have some updates here. So Tom and Nushi opening up their lead a little bit at the top of the field right now. And notably, Billy and John have now moved into second place with a very, very narrow lead over Andrew Burkett and Tom Simmons. Joe and Brindy moving up into fourth, and we've started to see Bob Poole and Stephen Tevitt drop back a little bit, losing some serious time. So when we last were with you, the grouping of the top five, everyone was within about 8 minutes of each other. That has now really opened up, with those top four still being within 10 minutes, but then a pretty big gap opening up from there. So it'll be really interesting to see how the top of this leaderboard starts to shape up as the night goes on, and as we start bringing in our live coverage from here from Reading, can start to see those top crews as they come in through there, whether that gap closes at all, whether it holds, and really who's going to be within striking distance as we get onto the Thames itself. Checking in on the C2 race that we've been keeping a close eye on, I'm not 100% sure if this is a tracking difference here, if there's maybe some issue with the trackers, but it looks like Dylan and Andy have just opened up about a 4 or 5 minute lead over Mike and Sam, which is a pretty big reversal of what we were seeing earlier, just in the last hour, where Mike and Sam were maybe up by 5 or 6 minutes pretty consistently. That difference has almost fully been reversed. We're seeing Dylan and Andy moving back into the lead there in the Canadian canoe category battle there. So there's a couple of different races we're watching right now. We'll keep you up to date. I know the crew who's going to be live streaming from Reading is just about there. They should be setting things up any minute to bring you some live coverage. And we'll see all of these crews start to come through Reading and move onto the Thames as we're just past midnight here local time.
Yeah.
No, there's the escort.
Escort.
So that was the Escots we just saw coming in there. Luke and Tim Escott coming in just through Reading right now. The rest of the crew is just setting up their stream, and we should be with you in a second.
Very overexcited.
I'm impressed with the
So 1-0 to
this thing. I think it's great. So you're back.
Yeah, unfortunately. But PG's not too bad.
Give an update on how they're doing. Have they just gained a bit of ground?
We can't tell for certain yet. We'll find out more when they get through the Reading one.
Okay.
But
I think
they've
we
been
are
kind of like 3 minutes.
Okay. All
yeah.
right.
Let me make sure that they've got everything.
Okay. Yeah.
Go for it.
That was Elise, Dylan's wife, who's part of the support crew for Dylan Kirk and Andy Hall. And I think we're going to give you all an update. I'm going to turn it over to Em.
Billy and John are just coming through the Oracle
Just make sure
now.
you speak close to the.
Okay.
Go close to the mic.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you to those who have tuned back in. So we are now at Dreadnaught, which is basically
It's beautiful. It's tropical.
Are now all wearing multiple layers. So,
I think we are not wearing just multiple layers, are we?
no, we're not. Okay, are we doing this now?
We kind of have to show this. We got a break.
We have got a break.
After last year, inspired.
I have got on, so you can't really tell.
Yeah, I got multiple. we do onesies on under this.
They're practical.
They are. Last. Stab proof right now. Onesies.
Sorry, guys, we're basically not able to hear you right now. Can you try and find a different spot?
We had tuning in. We had a few retirees, unfortunately. However, things are really hotting up in the sort of for the podiums. We're getting
Tight, but I think there's knots between Bert and Noosh and Tom.
Yeah.
And there's knots between Tom and 6 minutes between Noosh and Tom and Joe and Brindy, with Noosh and Tom being in the lead, Joe and Brindy being second, and Burkett and Tom being third.
So we've got 3 boats coming through. Jones and Davison. Jones and Davison, Hall and Kirk, and who's next to them? Mitchell and Byrne. So whether John O'Grady and Billy will pass them before they get here,
which
it looks like they Edwards and Forshaw between them. Yeah.
So they might do. It depends how their portaging is going at the moment. But crews are starting now to sort of bunch up a bit more together, or get a bit closer together as we get onto the Thames. This is the point just upstream from here. This is an artificial portage, so all crews have to portage here. They have to come off. It is the official start of the Thames section of Devizes to Westminster. So once you get on this point, I think you guys will all agree there's a sense of relief getting off the canal and getting onto a bit of flow, a bit of deeper water, a bit of wider water.
Let's get on the.
Well, we did. We're not sure if
we're done.
we have done it, but not sure if the Tim was just saying that the feed was a bit choppy, so we don't know. But
I think it might be better now.
We couldn't see it.
we need to show off the absolutely amazing. So what onesie are you wearing?
I have got a duck onesie on this evening, complete with little wings.
Complete with little. This is
As
incredible.
I said, practical and aesthetic, and it has got a tail, which I don't think anybody needs to see right now.
Right.
Why a duck?
We'll save that for.
So a duck specifically, after last year's discussions, those who were sort of tuning in at 3 a.m. had
at 3 a.m.
random
at Bolter's Lock,
Yeah.
which didn't make the saved version of the live stream. So there was some really quality discussion there.
There were some great discussions at 3 a.m. But
Paddle daily after dark.
Yes.
Yeah, this is when we come alive.
Yes.
We sort of posited rubber duck theory.
There's no we in this. That was solely you.
It was solely me.
founded rubber duck theory. It is trademarked.
So basically, it's when you get onto the tideway, if you hit it just right, you can basically be a rubber duck and just float down. Obviously, if you're not really racing, but you can just sit on the tideway and it will take you down to Westminster. That is rubber duck theory.
So they've just got to hit the tide window right and rubber duck it down to Westminster.
Yeah,
they'll be hitting the.
Stop ducking about. I think we got crews.
There are some boats coming through.
And then I think we're going to get an update. Do we have Dylan and Andy coming through?
They should be soon.
We've got about 3 or 4 boats which will all kind of come all together, I think.
Yeah, they're going to be one of them.
Do we know in the top crews who's going to do kit changes here, or will it just be
we've
check in
already
and go?
seen some kit changes, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So do we think? So we know Joe and Brindy changed kit. We're probably 90% sure.
Can we just
that
talk about that again?
Tom and
Because I
Nishi-
am obsessed.
Yeah. That kit change was exceptional, wasn't it?
I feel like I need to apologise to them for a start, because when we were stood at Hungerford and we were watching their crew put out kit, we're going, oh, that's going to take them 5 minutes, isn't it? That's going to take them ages. They're clearly going to do a full kit change, blah, blah, blah. We then watch Joe and Brindy come into the portage, and just people descend on them.
It was a canoeing pit stop.
It was.
And you work in motorsport, so you can tell us.
I have seen pit stops slower than that.
Wow. That is.
It was 1 minute and 20 seconds. I was just incredible.
Unreal.
Certainly on top, it was a down to skin change. So yeah,
we were looking the other way. Were we trying to look the other way?
You were looking the other way.
I looked the other way.
It was.
I
was
you
were
fascinated
blinded by the impressiveness.
Yeah.
Of the speed. Yeah.
Given I was in a changing room with Brindy on Tuesday, I don't think she'll mind too much.
No. I'm sure they're fine with it. But that level of speed is.
It was impressive. Don't get me wrong. There were 4 or 5 people. To each of them, just ripping clothes off and putting them on, and they clearly choreographed that.
Knowing Joe how I do, I mean, I don't know Brynny as well, but I know Joe would rehearse that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was so rehearsed.
Yeah.
Very rehearsed.
Yeah. People have practiced it.
So
it looks like we've got our first.
Yeah, we've got Mitchell and Byrne.
Mitchell and Byrne. Okay. Which boat numbers?
I apologise. We don't know anything. Well, we don't know much about
we
these
can
guys.
check the notes.
Hall and Kirk.
Yep. So Dylan Kirk and Andy Hall are the one of 2 boats in the Canadian doubles class, so in C2. So we've just been kind of catching up with their support crew here a bit.
So Billy will now. They've just.
This is Dylan and Andy
come onto
first.
the Thames.
Okay. So that is. We'll follow Andy and Dylan and see what they're going to do here. And this is that next crew coming through. Okay.
So where this canoe crew placed, do we know?
So they are. We don't want to film too much of their kit change. So they are changing kit now. I'm not sure they changed kit earlier. We'll look at the K2 here that stopped as well. So Andy and Dylan, who are just behind us right now, are really, really tight in the lead for the C2 race. So I think that Sam Bowen and Mike Thornton are leading right now. Right, and in front of us is James Mitchell and Peter Byrne, boat 368 in the senior men's class.
They are changed now. They're decent.
Okay, all right, they're changed now. We can get back to Dylan and Andy.
What was going on?
So they...
yeah, we just see Billy
and John coming through. Okay, we'll catch them in a minute. So Dylan and Andy have been really, really tight with the other top crew, Mike and Sam, and really it could be anyone's game. I think it's going to be. There's still a lot of the race to play out between them. It definitely looked like Mike and Sam had an advantage through Crofton and on the Portages.
Yeah, right, Billy.
Okay, here's Billy and John. Let's see.
They're down.
And now they've done really, really well. I think it's safe to say they're doing quite a bit better than expected. Gels on the boat. Okay.
John's making plenty of noise there. He's loving himself. He's loving it. So that's
all right, that was a quick stop. That was a quick
kit
change
stop.
from
That's
Dylan and Andy. Yeah, and Billy and John have not even stopped. A little bit spotty there for a second.
That was a flying visit by Billy.
That was really, really quick from Billy and John. They did not have a kit change. We're not sure if they've had one. They just flew through their team. Their support team was definitely updating them on how they're doing relative to the other teams.
Do you have a USB-C?
Were they? Yep, we've got. And that was impressive. So yeah, 368. Looks like they're ready to go. So this is the break we've just seen from 368. I would say is more typical. They've kind of taken a little bit of time with it. Did you see if they did a kit change?
I don't think they didn't do a
Maybe
kit
not.
kit
Yeah,
change, but
they look like they've got some waterproofs. Yeah.
And a quick partner stitch as well.
Ah, very nice.
Much needed. We've got another.
Okay. Let's see.
Any idea what?
366. I think they just said. I know them earlier. It looks like they're moving at top speed right now. So
that is generous of you. This is Samuel Edwards and Ashley Forshaw.
All right, Edwards and Forshaw. They're getting some fresh bottles. They're looking a little bit.
Keeping the background there is limping quite badly. He does not look.
Yeah, he doesn't look great.
I think it might be a Royal Marines crew.
They are looking.
The background does not look steady at all.
Like they're struggling a bit. Yeah. We think they might be one of the. Yes, I think they are one of the Royal Marines crews. I think this is one of the crews who we saw earlier at Newbury, maybe doing a change at Newbury. So definitely a little bit challenging for them. This is a tough time of the night. It's pretty cold out. We were kind of speculating earlier on how cold it would get at this time of night. All of us are wearing many, many layers.
Yeah, this is what we'd expect during March.
Yeah,
during the day. This is
for late April. It's we're not getting the advantage of. It was warmer during the day, but yeah, I think it's
They're doing a kit change.
Oh, sorry everyone. Lots of kit changes happening. The moon I think doesn't come out until like 2:30 a.m. So we'll see. Yeah, we're just double checking that for you. It's we've got some beautiful stars out here. It's not a totally clear sky, but it's definitely cold. The temperature has dropped right down, and it's a huge change from where it was earlier when it was pretty warm and sunny. So I would say
that crew there is Edwards and Forshaw.
Yes, they're a Royal Marines crew. Yeah, just taking their time with the stop. I think that's again like more typical of what we would see from, I guess sort of the mid-level
midfield crew.
Yeah, midfield crews doing DW.
So
who else have we got coming up through here?
We've got 362 Thornton and Bowen.
Okay, so that is the other C2.
Oh, okay.
So they started. I think it ended up being maybe about 15 minutes apart. Between 10-15 minutes between Dylan and Andy versus Mike and Sam. So they Dylan and Andy were started with a lead, then Mike and Sam took the lead once the Portages started going, which is kind of what we expected, right? We've got a British crew that's more used to the Portages here. Mike is super experienced at DW versus the American crew that's used to probably a different style of Portage.
It'll probably play to their advantage now on the Thames, so
I think,
it might even out.
I think it
whether
will.
They'll catch them up.
It's we're still waiting for. It's been a few minutes now since Dylan and Andy passed through, and they had a pretty quick stop here as well. So I would definitely say the Americans should claw back some of that time on the Thames right now.
We've got Hawken and Palmer. Now, bear in mind, they set off with John O'Grady and Billy Butler.
Who we've just seen come flying through here.
Yeah. But then they did have rudder problems at just after Hungerford and down. They sorted it out by Aldermaston, apparently. So I'm surprised they're only just coming into Reading.
Okay, so we still have a little while. So they were about 20 minutes down on Billy and John earlier, I think. So I'm wondering if that's maybe gotten a little bit worse.
Yeah, quite possibly. And who we got? So now this is a point in the night where you've got the fast crews starting to go through, slower crews starting to catch them up, starting to pass them.
Yeah.
Which can't be pleasant as you're going through that section. I mean, I'm not a big fan of that section from Podney down to Reading. I'm way back before Reading was really built up and that floodplain was built up. It wasn't a bad paddle, but now the flow through there can be pretty nasty. I mean, it won't be too bad tonight.
This year is pretty calm.
Yeah.
I think we'll also see, we talked earlier about, for the crews who've been out last year and the previous year with really, really high flow rates, they're going to get onto these sections and I think find it's going to be hard to come onto these sections and realize that you're not going to get anything near the flow that you got previously.
Coming up, so we have got Nushi and Tom.
Yeah.
Where's that? That's a lock there. Swing bridge and a lock. That must be. Is that Bull? Garston lock.
Okay, Garston. So they're still a little ways out. We've got a couple updates. So Andy and Dylan, it looks like they are in the lead now, ahead of Mike and Sam. So that is pretty exciting.
Oh, the crews swapping over.
Yeah, and we were just saying we thought that Dylan and Andy, now that there's not as much portaging, that they'll be at an advantage again. But that's been a great race to watch. They've been trading leads. They're really, really tight.
It's all very tight.
It really is.
Yeah. So is this the other canoe coming through?
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here they are now.
What might be interesting, looking at the tracker, we might see Tom and Anushka within eyesight of Joe
and Brindy.
Rowan here.
Yeah.
They might.
Yeah.
Depends.
We speculated on that earlier.
Yeah. It depends who does get change stuff.
Okay, so let's see how long. So there's Sam in the front and Mike in the back. We're going to see how long they take compared to Dylan and Andy. That's great. Okay. And they're changing out their water packs.
You're more of a canoeist than I am, aren't you?
Yes.
How much more do they need to change kit than a kayaker?
A lot less, really. Yeah, it makes a massive difference. And I chatted briefly with Ed Dobson about this. He and Mike Reese-Clark are out in C2 today. And of course, they got third place in the K2 category at DW last year, switched over to canoes. And, I think that's, you go slower, the headwind is a lot harder, but truly the fact that you stay so much drier in the C2, it is a huge perk on a race like this.
But then you've also got dry hands. So does that mean that your hands suffer more?
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
We just stepped in to help with the Marines crew
Okay.
Not wanting to make too many judgments, but
Yeah.
we would not want to be in the shoes of the back man at the moment.
We saw him limping earlier.
He limped in. He wasn't able to dress himself. His crew wasn't helping him dress.
Oh boy.
So
that's boat 366.
So basic things that you want to be getting right. He's just walking off now. His hands are cold. He's not got pogies. That's a
I did
nice
just
strong
put some
headwind.
pogies on the front.
Oh, you did?
Guys.
Okay. Yeah. And it is a little bit breezy. I mean, it's not a raging headwind, but
But if
it's
you're already
cold enough
and
you
you're
want
wet,
pogies.
and this wind, it's just gonna.
I mean, it's and again, not to judge or anything, but one of the issues they've got now is that they're putting his points here back on, and they don't know how it needs to fit.
Oh boy.
So I did again just try to.
CT's off.
Okay. Here goes Mike and Sam. So that was I'd say probably similar to Dylan, Andy, maybe a little bit slower.
Possibly, but that was a very well organised pit stop. They had everything laid out. They called out what they needed. As he was getting changed and putting some layers on, someone else was getting his pasta ready. That was well rehearsed. Or if it wasn't well rehearsed, they're just naturally good at it.
That was smooth.
It was very smooth.
I think that will have been well rehearsed.
That was a planned fuel stop, and it went incredibly smoothly.
Yeah.
This is the one to watch now.
So we're a bit concerned about
can't work out
crew
whether he's
366
cold or exhausted or both.
I think it's both.
Yeah. And there have been a couple of additional retirements that have happened as well that we want to update you all on. Let's just pull those up.
I think what's really hard when you get a crew like that going through is, we all coach at our clubs. And, if that was one of our kids on the water, I would be staying back and stepping back. But these guys have all gone for the challenge, and that's what it's about. And none of the support crews want to say, I don't want to put you on the water.
Yeah.
Even if but I think in that situation, they are. It's difficult. It's a hard call. They are okay, but what wasn't okay was the fact that they have been there for so long.
Yeah,
they're getting colder.
Their temperatures have gone down.
As a tip for all support crews in the future, potential support crews, your crew by this point they've not got the dexterity that they would have at, say, devisers. You need to manhandle them. You need to be there. They need to be able to lean on you. So, Henry and I just stepped in and said, lean on us. Like, just hold on whilst they're putting trousers on, whilst they don't grab hold of the back of their jackets because they're getting changed and pull them down because they're damp, they're wet, they can't get it down. And so, it's little things like that normally they are adults. Normally, you can dress yourself.
Right. Yeah, but not at this stage.
It's a funny thing of being a support crew. Is
yeah. It's your support crew makes a huge difference, doesn't it? In how quick you're going to go.
And also they need to make decisions for you to some extent.
Yep.
But you've got to have the final call.
Because you're losing decision-making power too, right? At this point, your brain is starting to struggle to make good decisions.
Yeah, I mean, from a personal experience, my last DW, my crew had a discussion as to. It turned out, we think that I'd had an allergic reaction to something, and
oh man,
they had. I found out later they had a whole discussion as to whether they thought that I needed to be pulled off.
Yeah.
Thankfully for me, they made the decision to carry on and see how things went, and it was okay.
Yeah.
But they are really tough calls. Really tough.
I wouldn't feel if I was put in that crew. I know now that they're capable of carrying on, but if you got that at the tideway, and that crew's got to get better.
Yeah,
they've got to cut. everybody has
it's
a bad
hard
patch
to-
in every race, whether it's 125 miles or 12 miles. Everybody knows you get a bad patch in the middle, and now it's up to them to recognise that.
Yeah.
And to move them on.
Yeah, we've got a bad patch. Let's get through it.
And not to assume that they will retire, but yeah, as you say, that they'll have to have some big changes. There were a couple of retirements I wanted to mention. So I believe this is the 4th and 5th retirements of the race, which is Vicky Metcalf and Damon White, boat 341, retired between Marlow and Bray. I'm a bit surprised by that because Vicky is a true VW vet, but I'm not sure how much experience Damon has, and I know they are not the fastest crew out there. So it looks like that was, or potentially something's gone wrong, which is what we saw with Lee Maddox and Nick Perkins. So Nick had a knee injury, and it was just before Aldermaston that they had to pull out. Heard from their support crew earlier that they are pretty devastated. So I think that's really, really tough. But when you get a serious injury like that, and then the other retirement that we've seen is William Moreland and Mark Turner, boat 321, who retired just after Marlow. So it's there's normally a lot of retirements during this race, and
What's the percentage? Is it 30% or is it?
I think around 30% is about what we expect. I think it was higher than that last year when we had the really high flow rate. Yeah.
I think a lot because the DW organisers brought in the grading system.
Yep.
To allow to facilitate the race to go ahead. You had to have a certain grading amongst the paddlers just to make it safer. But I think a lot of paddlers got onto the water and realised just how hairy the conditions were. And we were based at Bolter's Lock.
Yeah.
And it took a couple of minutes for us to acclimatise to the roar of the weir just going past.
It was incredible.
Every now and then you could light it up, and it was just astonishing to see such a huge volume of water going through.
Yeah.
So
very different
last
this
year,
year.
unprecedented amounts of retirements because everyone just went, oh yeah, they weren't lying about the temps.
Yeah, but I think this year it's that headwind that's going to be really hard for people. Yeah. And Vicky and Damon were in a canoe in a C2, so it's even harder in those compared to the K2s.
It's also deceiving.
Yes.
But I mean, we're watching the top crews that have experience and they understand it and they know their weaknesses. But maybe, I don't know how much experience that Marines crew have got.
Yeah.
But traditionally, they have less experience than some of our top Division 1 paddlers.
Yeah.
So they might be experiencing this for the first time. The middle of the night, the cold. Yeah.
Well, I think it's the first time experiencing being in the middle of the night being cold.
That's true. That's true.
I did have a word with their support. Just like, is your man all right? Yeah, we did ask. He said he's alive. He's got 2 boats. I think that's also one of the things that makes DW appeal so much to the armed forces. It is that mentality of just keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going until you're dead. And, you'll get to the finish or die, but which one of those will happen.
Yeah.
The military guys do tend to be
committed.
Committed, even if foolhardy.
That's how a lot of people sort of come across DW in the first place. It's via that route. Some very good paddlers from previous years have started out because they did it through the military and then carried on.
Expecting to see Hawken and Palmer.
Pretty soon.
Dan and Rob, is it?
Dan Palmer and David Horkin. Yeah. So they that I think means they are probably losing a little bit more time against Billy and John, who they started with, which is not entirely surprising since they were probably benefiting from wash hanging a bit.
Yeah.
And Billy and John are having a really good race too. I think better than expected for Billy and John. So it might say more about how well Billy and John are doing.
John was really upbeat.
Yeah.
Really upbeat on that, you know.
I really thought, last year was John's first DW. And it was hard. And I think he's just got a completely different mindset and understanding of the race this year. And that could really make all the difference. And I know Billy's been doing a lot of really consistent training. So I think that could they could podium. They could podium.
You think they could? Wow. Yeah.
I think they were always potentially in the mix anyway, but they're proving so strong.
They really are.
3-4-8 seems to have taken a long time on that Portage. Blake's lock.
Oh, okay.
On the tracker.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that could be a tracker glitch, or it could be
that they've got rudder issues again.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not a great Portage to do at the best of times.
Top tip: don't have rudder issues in the Oracle Centre.
That's not a good spot, is it? Yeah.
It's not a good spot to have an issue. But
not on a Saturday night.
No.
So they are moving again now.
They are. So hopefully that was just a glitch. But let's see as they come in.
And they should be in. That's probably 3 or 4 minutes time.
All right.
Too far. We should see their lights pretty soon. To be fair.
I'm going to recap the order from Aldermaston. So we've definitely seen some changes from Newbury to Aldermaston. We've talked about how well Billy and John are doing.
We've got lights.
Oh, we've got lights in the distance. Okay. So Dan Palmer, David Horkin are
So they're not
coming in now.
intending to stop here.
Okay.
Have
you chatted with their support crew?
Yeah, so I just had a chat with their support crew. They're not intending to stop here. They're Portage up and go straight through. But the support crew are here just to supply them if they do want to stop. But apparently they have been having absolute chronic rudder troubles.
Oh man!
So if they do
Should've
stop
sent
here
their
for a
boat
quick
to you
snap,
first.
sorry,
You didn't have a look at their boat.
No, they did not ask me to.
Yeah.
So
Well, this is what happens.
So I've got the head torch out now.
Okay.
So if they do stop, I'm going to dive in the back, sort their rudder out.
Okay.
Apparently the cables keep jumping off the wheel,
Oh.
off the rear wheel. So that would suggest that their
Loose
cables are too slack.
Yeah.
They basically keep losing steering other
Wow.
than extreme parameters. So
That's gotta be tough for them. That must be really
it's
frustrating.
really frustrating because that happens and they can't fix it until the next Portage unless they pull in early.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. So they're sort of limping through each time
Man.
and just trying to keep the boat running straight.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really frustrating for them.
Yeah.
But if they do pause here, we'll see if we can fix it roadside.
All right. Roadside assistance.
So
Roadside assistance.
roadside assistance.
Pro tip to everyone: send your boat to Henry before DW and book it in early.
Yeah. Well, all jokes aside, there are 1 or 2 crews that book in with me before Christmas, and they book in before and after every Waterside and Thameside.
Yeah.
To pre and after, and
Pre and post.
pre and post, just to make sure everything's covered.
Just in case.
Which is intense, but at the same time,
Those crews will not be pulling in with rudder troubles.
they're not going to be having rudder troubles on DW.
This is, I think this whole thing is feeling a lot more like F1 than we were all expecting.
So there's 9 for Aldermaston. There's 9 minutes between the top 3.
Yeah, so that spread of 8 minutes went to 9 minutes. I mean, that's crazy tight.
Leshy, Burkett, Simmons.
All right,
And
let's see how Dan and David look, and we'll let Henry check them out if they stop. Oh, they are running really quick. Okay. Oh my God, look at the rudder. I don't know if you can see that on the stream. That is bad. That is real bad. But they're running quickly. Clearly, these are two really experienced paddlers. They're moving really well, but I'm really surprised too.
That rudder was not doing anything.
That rudder was just flopping around like, wow. That is,
Dan and David.
yeah. They look like they're doing well despite the rudder problems.
They're happy out there.
Yeah, that rudder.
We're on the Thames.
All right. Wow.
Yeah, so that rudder is limp and loose.
Yeah.
It's not functioning.
That looked really bad. Yeah.
Can we do a shout out? There's a load of people from the West of Ireland.
Yes, please.
So, hello,
please.
Moy Canoe Club. Hello, Mum and Dad, Elizabeth, Alan, Mary, David, everybody. We're here, and anyway, they're watching. They'll be up all night. John Morrissey, hi as well. So
amazing.
Thanks a million. We'll see you later.
We've loved the Moy Canoe Club crowd, so
Thank you.
big shout
Thank
out
you.
to you all.
Cheers, guys.
And we're cheering them on. It's
Hopefully it'll inspire more canoeists to come from the West of Ireland.
yeah, we'd love to see it. Nice work. That was a good support stop too. We've been talking about, what those pro support stops look like, and you saw just how quick that was. They've got a ton of extra supplies in case the crew needs anything else. I think this is one of the differentiators that Billy and I talked about on Paddlecast was, how well can these crews, the support crews, anticipate the needs? We talked about earlier about what makes a great support crew.
Yeah.
They've bought down with a ton of stuff, and
yeah, 9 times out of 10 you won't need all of that stuff, but it's that one time when you might do, and that's anticipating it. But also, I don't know if you caught it on camera, but Dan was offered some stuff in the back, and he said, "No, I don't need it." And so that it's that communication again as well, and knowing sometimes the support crew will know that their guys need that little bit extra, and they might insist, but because they are so well drilled with them and they know them so well, they know that actually Dan was okay. He could carry on. So,
and he knows himself well.
Yeah.
Right. Unlike
he's been doing this since 2012.
Yeah. He's done this a lot. I mean, the fact that they are making it down the course at speed with the rudder looking like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how well it showed up on the camera, but I mean, just completely loose.
Yeah, I mean, so I walked out. Like I said before, I've known Dan for years, so I just thought, knowing that obviously they got having Henry here, I did just walk up and I said as they got out, we have got someone here if you want it looked at. Okay. They said no, we're okay. Obviously, didn't see at that point the flapping rudder, but if they think they're all right. It looks like they've only lost between Aldermaston and here 1 minute from Billy and John. So yeah, maybe they have. Maybe they are managing it.
Yeah. I mean, they're an experienced crew. Yeah. If any crew was going to make it through something like that,
this was the crew.
That's really impressive. We've had a question in the chat. How are Mike Thornton and Sam Bowen doing? And that started with a good morning, and I didn't realize that we are in it's officially Easter Sunday.
Happy DW Day.
Yeah, happy DW Day. The crews will all be finishing today.
Yeah.
So Mike and
oh no, you can't go home then.
Stop later.
I'm so focused on this.
You just got her live stream.
Yeah.
So, I can offer you a hot cross bun.
Mike and Sam are doing really well. So there's the two C2s who are one of the tightest races out there today. They have been trading leads. So off the start, we saw Dylan Kirk once they hit the portages, especially around Crofton, we saw the crew, McLaurin and Sam Owen, which is about what we were. They're a local crew. Will be more drilled and experienced on those. that was good to see from. So it looked like Dylan Kirk and Andy Hall are just about 1 minute on Mike and Sam. It's really either crew's game at this point. They've been trading. We think maybe Dylan and Andy could have a little advantage on the river here. There's not as much portages; they're less frequent, so that's not as much of an advantage for Mike and Sam. But we'll see how. It's great to see Sam and Dylan both at the stage of the race. They've both had attempted DWs last year and the previous year that ended early. So I'm going to be optimistic that both of those C2s finish the race this year based on how they're doing so far, which is really exciting.
Yeah, and again, they're looking really strong.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. You might have had a bit of an issue hearing Betsy there just now. The wind has picked up again a bit, so I'm just trying to be
a
bit of a windbreak, but
improve our audio a bit. And I mean, this is we expected the wind to go down overnight. I didn't expect it to be quite.
I think we got hopeful because it did drop a bit, and then it seems to have picked up again.
Yeah.
So
I see a light in the far corner.
Oh.
Very bright light.
Yeah. I was just watching that, and it has been there a few minutes, so I'm not sure if it's.
Ignore me then.
Sometimes it's hard to tell if it's a boat or if it's a kayak, but
Or we are in Reading. It could be some locals setting fire to something.
You can't say that.
No, I
Can He was one of the locals too.
So the next boat, Burkett and Simmons.
Yep.
Yeah. They are a little way at the moment.
And they are. Where are they? What is that? Apparently. Yes. So apparently, Joe and Brindy have just. Oh, we're just sorry. There we go. Joe and Brindy have just passed Bob and Stephen. So yeah, they're about halfway between the two of them.
Yeah. So we should again see them quite soon as well. So
that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
We've had speculation about Bob and Stephen and whether they maybe went out a little too hard. Looking at their sort of waterside race data and speeds compared to they hung around in devices and waited for Andy Burkett and Tom Simmons to start, who are a really quick crew. So it looks like maybe we are seeing a little bit of that coming back around.
Yeah,
for them.
Yeah, the dots have just updated again, and they are dropping. They're getting passed by Yoshi and Tom and Joe.
So are they stationary at the moment?
They're not stationary. Just going through Fobney now.
Do we know what the conditions are like at Fobney this year? Obviously, last year it was.
What are your feet having to get?
Fobney is interesting in that you basically have to wade through marsh. And
on the Thames side, it was okay.
Okay.
It was okay. It wasn't a bad. It wasn't a bad get-in.
Yeah.
It's kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
So
it might be.
So it's
they
probably
might not
okay.
Have too wet of feet this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it does make a difference based on the flow and how.
Fobney is an interesting one because I like here how the course has changed over the years. Because we used to when I trained in Reading when we were kids, we used to get in and go through go over the bridge.
Okay. Yeah.
And get in on the railings, which now you have to go underneath the bridge and get in on the sand. And here we know you scout here, obviously, straight through here.
Yeah.
Just those little things have changed course over the years. Some of the low bridges as well. There's extra bridges, an extra bridge at Aldermaston. Of course, Crofton, you used to have to run that because that used to be dry.
Yeah.
So, to see the records actually being set back then with all those obstacles, it's quite amazing.
And to not be broken for so long.
Yeah.
So long.
Yeah. But then you've got things like this that slow you down a little bit. Yeah.
We've got an update, another retirement.
Okay.
This is, I'm going to say again, this is exactly when the time of night that I was expecting we'd have lots of retirements, and it's proving true. So it is the Belgian crew has just retired.
Oh gosh.
Which is a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, those are experienced marathon paddlers.
Yeah. So again, we only know that they've retired. We don't know the reasons for.
Yeah. We'll see if we can pull up where that was.
Yeah.
I think they would have passed here. We'll have to check the tracker. It was Eric Verdict and Monique Bessinger, just past Marsh.
Okay. Which, to be fair, when we were speaking with Owen, sorry, Peaky, back at Devices, and he was saying that he thought, sort of from his own experience, that probably we'd see quite a few retirements around. Well, more. He specifically said Hurley, but Marsh isn't that far from Hurley, so yeah. With this is. We were expecting to see some. There have been surprises, though. It's boats that have surprised us. So
I think definitely Leah Nick was a surprise. Vicky Metcalf and Damon White, I'm a bit surprised by. We'll have to see what happened to them. And, the Belgian crew. Well, Rebecca Bird and Al Pipe will be excited to hear that their chances at the Century Cup and the mixed podium are looking a little bit better.
Paul and Tibbet are very close to being passed by Nushi and Tom.
Okay, and they were just passed by Brindy
so that
and Joe.
will mean that Nushi and Tom, once they pass them, that will be the first person they've passed, and it's the first person they've seen, which is a bit of an ego boost.
I think so.
When you've been on your own for a long time.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that boost of overtaking. Not that I know very often, but of overtaking somebody.
To see somebody.
Especially when you started last. That is a long slog.
It's
on
hard.
Your own.
I think that's mentally hard.
Yeah, and so on this course to have any sort of boost is
especially this time of night too. I think now is a great time for them to get that kind of boost.
We haven't. There's no. I mean, there's these guys here. Who are these guys supporting? Compared to Hungerford, where we had a whole posse turn up for all the boats. It's surprisingly quiet here, where you'd expect it to be the busiest.
Which, to be fair, obviously because certainly for Joe and Brindy, they had their change. Not to bang on about it, but they had their change at Hungerford, so you wouldn't maybe expect so many crew for them here. We're talking about the boost and things for crews. In fact, when we were watching Billy and John go past earlier, Henry and I, well, you guys were just sort of doing the camera, we were just saying, I personally wouldn't want to stop here. I'd specifically choose, there's certain pinch points almost that I know, certainly, it's almost like from my first DW, I can still vividly remember at Bolters someone throwing up next to me.
Ooh.
And so it's almost like there's. I know that I knew for the next one I'd be fine, but I just wanted to get through Bolters as quickly as possible. And I said to my support crew, "We're not stopping. Whatever happens, we're not stopping at Bolters. You can give us a bit of food. That's it. We carry on. Even if it's a case of going to the next one and doing whatever." So I think that can also play a big part in. And because here obviously we've got the last few boats coming through, so it won't be as busy.
Yeah.
But earlier on, unfortunately, we didn't see it so much because we were obviously further back. But it will have been absolutely crowded
Completely
here,
packed,
with
yeah.
completely packed, and you've got people potentially tripping over you, tripping over other people. They've got kit, they've got all sorts, and it's just these little extra things that, again, they get into your head. And if you have a small trip, anything can happen, as we've seen, that it sounds like that boat has had one of the boats has had a knee injury, had to pull out. That could have been something as simple as a small trip.
Again, this is a strange portage because it's
not really a portage.
It's not a portage, and in my mind, as I said, it never used to be there. So if I had to do this race again, to me this is just like, why do I have to get out the boat? And maybe that's why there's no sport group here. They've just said, we're just going to go through this and do it.
They might, the other thing that wouldn't surprise me is if they show up last minute and they do kind of what we saw with Dan and David's crew, which is they're not expecting to do much of a stop here, but they just show up because they can and give them, they've got the stuff ready in case these crews need it. But it's not like a proper full support stop.
And it would be something as simple as maybe shoving a bit more food or a gel into them, and maybe a bottle change. So
the next support point is, and that's what we haven't talked about, is support points from now on aren't as easy. I mean, geographically, down at Kent and Avon, you can pretty much come off the A4 at any point and find a canal. Here, you can't do that anymore. I don't know what the regulations are at Ship Lake, but I don't think you can.
You can't get to the lock.
They're not allowed onto the lock either.
Not allowed onto the lock.
So really, you're looking at from here, Marsh.
Most people go to Marsh.
Which again is.
That's 12.
Marsh. Most people good feed
here.
And then Simmer Marsh.
You
won't get to Sonnet because it's a mile and a half.
So
you get back in your car, drive to Sonnet, you've got to walk up to the lock. You won't have time. And then you've got shipwreck, you can't get to the Portage. So you're killing more time. And then you've got Marsh.
So which is
Marsh is 12 miles from here or something like that.
9 miles.
There we go.
Which in theory is quicker than on the canal, but actually we're seeing we've got some stats coming up in the background. Thank you to Tim. And you can see the difference in speed between this year and last year. They, with Billy and John on the canal, they've basically been dead even with last year's pace, maybe a tiny bit faster, but there's not a huge amount in it. On the canal now, between Reading and Marsh, they are pacing around 10 minutes slower than they were last year. I mean, obviously we've said about the flow.
That's going to be the biggest factor in that, isn't it? Even more so than speed.
Dot watching. We should have Tom and Noosh have overtaken Paul and Tebbit. According to the dot watcher.
All right. So Tom Sharp and Anushka Freeman, who are leading the race right now, have just overtaken Bob Poole and Steve Tebbit. We were talking about that a couple minutes ago. We were expecting it to happen. It looks from the GPS tracker like it has actually happened. And we think that's going to be a pretty big kind of morale boost for them at this stage.
Well, it's updating rapidly again, and they're on top of each other.
Because we're also wondering how long, I think you said earlier, Henry, if Poole and Tebbit can catch some of the wash as they're getting past, that could be a boost for them. But it depends how long they can actually wash hang when they might be tired from.
But also, as we've found out, they're actually dropping off onto faster and faster crews, which is not what you want.
That's true.
You can't,
if they've already dropped
the crew
off,
that you start off with. and you've got faster and faster crews behind you, that's going to be tough.
Gonna be
So actually, the dot watcher is saying that Paul and Tebbit are on top of Sharp and Freeman, and vice versa. So it could be that they are now using each other's washes.
Yep.
Which may serve as an advantage for Tom and Noosh in order to catch up with Joe and Brindy. So
and it looks like they weren't. It looks like when Joe and Brindy passed Steve and Bob earlier, that it was not. They didn't seem to be together for very long, did they?
No.
It was more of a simple pass rather than hanging out and wash hanging a bit. So I wonder, it could be that they were, if they passed them on a Portage too, that could have been a reason why why they didn't kind of wash hang as much, right? Because if you get passed on a Portage, there's not much you can do about it, even if you're good at catching a wash.
No.
I've just been down to the side of the river. There's no flow on it at all.
Yeah,
there's nothing.
it's
I mean,
pretty
compared to
minimal.
what I've seen in the Thames side,
It's not as low as it gets, right?
No.
But it's definitely it's massively lower than last year and the year before. I mean, we're talking like in terms of Cumex in the hundreds versus in the like 50. So that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, definitely. And we are already seeing that with the comparable crews, like we said, with John and Billy. That is making a big difference.
That'll make a big difference.
Yeah.
I mean, even 10 minutes down on their pace is, I really feel like that's not even that bad versus what we would expect. It'll be interesting to see how the other crews do versus their pace from previous years, especially Tom and Nishi.
So I was just talking to the marshal who's been here since 7 this morning.
It's a long day here.
It's a long day for him, but he was saying the wind's actually dropped off an awful lot.
Yeah.
And earlier they had white caps going upstream, and so the poor junior crews were sort of rabbits in the headlights, just going what?
Oh, man.
So yeah, apparently this is quite tame.
Here's Joe and Brindy's crew. I wonder if we can catch them for a
Hey, guys.
chat.
How's
Yeah, good, thank you.
We're
How are they
commandeering
doing?
you. How are they doing?
Oh, I think they're doing really, really well.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's a tight race so far.
It's really
a lot's
tight,
going on.
yeah.
No, I think everyone's doing really well.
Are they feeling?
No, didn't seem to be any major issues with any boats so far, from what I can tell. So that's really good news.
Dan and David Rudder has they've had rudder issues for ages.
I say rudder issues. The rudder is broken.
Oh right, I didn't know that. Okay.
They are paddling without a working rudder.
Okay, other than that though, right?
Now you jinxed it.
No. No, I hope not.
Who's pointing to me?
Well, of course I'm supporting everyone, but no, I'm actually supporting Joe and Brindy.
Right, okay.
We're the sport crew.
And
yeah.
you've got a spray deck with you.
Yes.
You've got all sorts. Are they planning on chucking them on?
Depends on the wind. Gonna have to have a look. It doesn't look too bad actually.
From us standing here, I'd recommend hoagies.
I've got gloves
It's
on.
cold.
yeah, and that is a
They've got some long. They've got some long windy straights ahead of them.
Yeah. I'll try and persuade them to put it on there.
If not here, maybe at Marsh.
Yeah,
Like Henry Strait's gonna be horrible.
Yeah, they've sort of said we've got quite strict instructions. We've got like a proper manual. It's really, really useful. We've got do this at this portage, do this at this portage. It's absolutely
what was
brilliant.
the secret to their clothing change earlier?
Yes,
we were like,
honestly.
How many times did you all practice that?
No, we just practiced it. Well, we did practice it once actually, about 10 minutes before. So yeah, I just got down into a t-shirt and people tried to put a top on me quickly. Which is fun. Yeah, exactly. But we just figured that opening the sleeves was just a quicker way to get it on.
Boat in the distance.
Yeah.
So that will be my brain's gone. Help me out here.
Tom and Andy.
Tom and Andy first, right?
Yeah.
And then,
yeah. So this is the
they've got a couple people there.
second place crew according to the timings, is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Are you all keeping Joe and Brindy up to date on how they're doing versus the other crews, or would they rather not be updated?
Oh, should I say this? No, they've requested not to be updated at present.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're just doing their own race then.
They're doing their own race.
Good.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
And
why-
I think
do
for
you know?
DW, that's of course I know.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, I think they're doing really well. I think they're sticking to their race plan. So
Yeah.
I think
And you have to remember that it's Joe's second, but it's Brindy's first race.
it is. Yeah, and they're doing incredibly well for that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's a tough slog. So
To have expectations of, anywhere being near the top is fantastic.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, we're really proud of them. And yeah, just going to do the best for them that we can, I think. So yeah.
You're doing a good
Right.
job so far.
Thanks, yeah.
So
Yeah, thanks.
we'll let you go and have a look.
That
Cheers.
lights in the distance. Have we
All
got?
right.
Let's go.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Good luck.
Let's head over and check it out. We're gonna. All right, so we have got Tom Simmons and Andy Burkett, who are in second. Last we checked.
Third place now.
Oh, third place. Billy and John were ahead of Tom and Andy at Aldermaston. Okay, we've got a question in the chat. How important is the rudder issue in a small boat like this? Is this coming from someone who does canoeing, maybe?
Possibly.
Or someone who does whitewater? Yeah, interesting question. Okay, let's come back to that in a second after we get Tom and Andy through.
Maybe don't ask that question of Henry.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go check them out. Look, this is going to be another quick kit change. All right, I'm going to have to probably turn the camera away in a second. We'll see how much kit they're going to change. They look pretty, what do you think, Em? How do they look?
Yeah.
Oh, did he say take off the pogies?
Not going on.
Wow. These crews
Extra
have
layers
hands
going
of
on.
steel. Yeah, extra layers.
So early morning layers going on.
Okay, so this is not a full kit change at all. This is just a extra kit.
And this is actually kind of what I'd have expected of all of the top crews.
Yeah.
To be fair, which is why we were so surprised when we saw Brindy and Joe's crew with all of the kit.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see Andy Burkett's gone for no change. He's clearly got it all right already.
He looks
comfy.
focused.
They both look.
Yeah.
They're upright. They're chatting. They're telling their support crew what they need from their side.
And this is completely different from last year. This is right around when this crew pulled out of the race last year, and there's nothing I'm seeing here that I am concerned about.
They're looking great.
I think they look good, which is really, really good to see. And another crew who I think made an attempt and didn't quite manage it, who's come back, and it looks like they're going to pull off a good race. That on the back of their K2 is a Tango Charlie Light, and Tango Charlie is sponsoring our DW coverage. So it's nice to see they've got their nice bright lights in the front and then that rear light in the back just to keep them visible. Well done, guys. So really really smooth out here. All right, Tom and Andy putting in, and okay, a little bit off balance. They will be tired at this point. It definitely gets a bit trickier to balance the longer you go. All right, they're just taking a minute to get settled. That was maybe a little bit slower than they could have been. Yeah, keep the pogies on standby was his feedback there. I think that's aim for the middle was their advice. So that was You can just see them off in the distance with their Tango Charlie light visible on the stern, lighting them up on the river. And they look strong. They're aiming for the middle. They're going to get in the middle of the low flow here, but it is certainly higher flow than they've been experiencing on the race so far. So it'll still feel like a little speed boost. And I think this crew is doing well. Are we getting an update on
we won't be prepared without.
We've got Joe and Brindy's crew here. Was that an update on how they're coming along?
They were just checking where they were, if they were
trying to work out which crew's coming in next.
Okay,
So
is it
that
going to
they can either
be
block the passage or
Brindy and Joe?
Yeah.
So it'll be Brindy and Joe coming in next, but the fact that the crew don't know that shows you how tight it is.
Yeah.
And it looks like Tom and Noosh and
Bob Poole and
Stephen are hanging.
Okay.
Vice versa. So it looks like they've caught each. Whether they're working together amicably, or just working together, we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get a couple of more layers.
All right. So we should see them coming through in not too long, right?
There is a bit of discussion at the moment amongst Joe and Brindy's support crew.
Yeah.
As to whether they are going to stop for a little bit longer here.
Okay.
It sounds like, given the other crew that just went through, they won't. But
okay, because there's an opportunity.
I
did think Andy and Tom stopped for a little bit longer than I would expect from that kind of caliber of crew. I think. I will make a bet. There's no way we'll see Tom and Nushi stop for that long.
No, I don't think so.
But
we've been wrong so far.
I don't think we're going to see Joe. If anything's the way it's gone, is Joe looks. I mean, it might be Brindy's planning. I don't know, but it sounds like Joe will have everything so organised, like at Hungerford. What we saw at Hungerford is a good example.
Pretty impressive. Yeah.
The fact that we can't go over that is.
Well, I was really interested. What do you think about their crew saying that they've asked not to be updated on the timings so far?
I think that's sensible, and that is consistent. Actually, when I was chatting to Brindy on Tuesday, that is consistent with what she was saying. It was very much about the number one goal was to finish and see how it went. So I think it's very sensible. Actually, it's her first DW, Joe's second. So it's a very, very sensible way to go. We've seen obviously a huge amount of pushing and shoving in, and some people potentially blowing up, some people not. Hello.
What are you saying about what's going on?
It's all about you, mate.
I've
actually been saying the chief umpire of DW absolutely, honestly, makes terrible sausages.
Really?
Awful.
Okay.
He shouldn't be allowed anywhere near the course, to be honest.
I want to know, are you updated on the standings right now?
I know roughly what's going on.
What's been the surprises for you so far?
If I'm honest, there's not really been massive surprises. I think Billy Butler, obviously, he's up into second.
Yeah.
I think Billy last year put a lot of pressure on himself, wanting to try and challenge for the record again, and trying to really push things on. This year, he's come in very relaxed. They've not paddled together a huge amount this year, so they just decided to go early, and it's worked for them.
It does look
they look really relaxed, really happy.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's John's second DW now.
John joined the running club as well.
Yes.
That's the big difference, I think, to just how easily they coasted down the canal.
I think that's been a bit of the story tonight, is that people are doing their own races.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And trying not to get involved. It'll be interesting to see what happens now with Joe and Brindy, because they are very aware that they are being caught. You know,
they have asked their crew
not to share splits and stuff, but. Tom and Nushi now are hot on their heels. They'll start seeing tail lights and they'll be chasing them down.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough position to be in.
Especially if Tom and Nushi are working together with Bob and Stephen.
I don't think Bob and Stephen will. You know, to be honest, Tom and Nushi have taken a lot of time out of Bob and Stephen. They'll coast on past.
Yeah, that's gonna
if you look at the difference in the support crews, Tom and Nushi is super slick, super smooth. Everything's well planned. And some of the support crews are flapping a little bit more. You know, it's not quite as organised and as drilled.
Here we go.
Okay, let's go catch. Let's see how Joe and Brindy do here. They are
okay.
Okay, wow. Let's
they're going for it.
So this is what you just heard, right? Was that they might not actually take a stop here.
Yeah, there was before they arrived. There were discussions amongst their support crews to whether they thought that they were going to stop, and it seemed to be based on other crews. Clearly, they've made that decision to carry on and go straight through without any stops. So yeah, still looking
I've got to
lovely.
pick up on something there.
Yeah.
Just before they pushed off, I don't know if you noticed, Brindy looks over her shoulder to check down.
Yeah.
So they know. They know it's
know.
tight.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll be feeling the pressure for sure. So that's so they will have a chance to try and catch Tom and Andy, especially with that longer break.
That was
we saw
interesting.
Tom
I
and
didn't
Andy
notice
take.
that,
Yeah.
but Joe and Brindy, they were definitely looking over their shoulders.
Yeah.
They were
That
looking,
was what
they was
Em just
looking
said.
behind,
Yeah,
see if they could see lights.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's
And
really,
in fact, I think there they are. They are coming. So yeah.
Okay.
Do we know? Is
this
this
tight.
Nushi?
So this will be Nushi
they
and Tom.
passed them.
Now we think that Nushi and Tom may have been wash hanging with. Well, I should say probably.
It might be the other way around.
Steve Devitt may have been wash hanging Nushi and Tom, but we're not sure how long. If they have been doing that, which is what the GPS looks like, you know, it's Nushi and Tom are going to be a hard boat to keep up with for anyone, let alone a crew who's already been dropped by Andy and Tom.
And to be fair, this is kind of what we've said from the start. That they are so well drilled.
Tom and Nushi are.
Yeah, it was something that unless something went seriously wrong, they were going to be the ones to beat, really.
They really are.
And they are proving it. So
and even without anything going wrong for the other crews, I would say, which is really a testament to
yeah, absolutely,
just how good this crew is.
I think I said it to. Did I say it to you, Emma, that around about Hungerford, that sort of thing, you get to. When you see the crew in real life, it's like watching stuff on TV, and then when you see it in real life, you go, okay, now I know why. Now I know why the Red Bulls are winning. You know, I say it to him because you work with Farron, but when you see it, when you hear it, when you see it happening, and for us, I think seeing Tom and Nushi work together, I'm always impressed with it.
You can immediately tell just how solid they are, how consistent, how comfortable.
It's slick.
Yeah. It's from a non-canoeist point of view, they probably won't notice, but we see when people are in time. It's a timing thing, not just with the blades, but they're getting in the boat at the same time. That just the shape of what's happening. It's all in unison.
Seen them,
and
their
thinking,
portages.
and thinking together.
Yes, like lockstep through and through, and that's really that's kind of what wins. It's also one of those things, you know, we haven't talked about it on the live stream, but I've talked about it on Paddle Daily. 2 of the top crews are mixed gender crews.
Yeah,
and you know, I think Nushi and Brindy are both exceptional paddlers. But it is worth saying too that when you're in a tandem, when you're in a double, there's a lot that comes from just being perfectly in time, being in lockstep, doing every single portage in perfect lockstep.
For years, this race it went through a patch of being an old man's race, you know, and
well,
all
it
us
still
old,
is if you look at
men.
the veteran men's K2
But
class.
all the old men were like, if one of the young groups starts racing, and then it's and that's what's happened the last few years. So here we go. Yeah.
So this is Anushka Freeman and Tom Sharp, who are currently leading the race. Here they come. It's like they're holding the same gap on Joe and Brindy. Updates from their they're getting updates from their crew about how they're doing.
So they are a crew that are happy to have updates, as opposed to other crews like Joe and Brindy.
But that'll change if depending on how they're doing. So they will have had conversations like, if we're up, we want updates. If we're down, maybe we don't. So they are taking a stop here, which we didn't see from Joe and Brindy. But this is going to be a quick, slick stop.
Yeah, so it looks like it's just them putting on spray decks and... Oh, okay.
What is that? Is that some pain meds?
That's...
I know she's had stomach. Okay. All right, that's... We're just listening to... Okay, this is a little bit of a longer stop, isn't it?
Yeah, but to be fair, it seems like they haven't had long stops so far, and they are back now, so I wouldn't be too worried at the moment. We have got... They are asking for exact splits now.
Versus Brindy and Joe.
Yeah.
I expect they're wanting to catch them up.
Definitely. I mean, as we saw, as Brindy and Joe left, we saw Nush and Tom's lights. So.
Yeah. They'll know that they're close to catching them.
And we've already talked about the mental positivity that creates, the boost and the push.
Yeah.
And this is the Way crew.
Yes. So we've got Bob Poole and Steve Pettit here from Way, getting a bit of support, some drinks.
Yeah.
So any wash hanging that may have been happening earlier I'd say that was
that's not happening anymore.
By the time they got here in Dreadnaught.
To be fair, we don't know, obviously, because we didn't see. But they could have just been lost at the last lock, because that is quite a tight lock to get over.
So we don't know if they did wash hang for a bit or not. This is looking like a slightly longer stop, I think, for Poole and Tebbit, which I'm not surprised by. Right? We're not quicker stops from Brindy and Joe, Nushi and Tom. There could be a disadvantage to Brindy and Joe not having a proper stop here.
It depends what you define as a proper stop.
That's true. If they really didn't need anything, then they'll be fine.
If they don't need it, if their support crew think that they don't need it, they seem very compos mentis.
They did, yeah. They definitely seemed like
they're not falling over themselves. I don't think that they're. I think they can still judge. They're looking very smooth. They're looking very happy. So I wouldn't be too worried personally.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
So these guys are opting for pogies, no deck,
interesting,
but lots of pizza.
Yes.
Both wolf down like two quarters, half a pizza each.
That's everyone's got to make their own.
Yeah.
Do we know?
You can see Bob Poole now tucking into that.
Do we know what type of pizza?
I think it looks like pepperoni to me.
This is hard-hitting journalism.
But the Ribena is hot. Hot Ribena.
Yes.
Good old staple.
Yeah, so this is a nice long stop for them. But it'll be good for them to make sure they're fully fueled up and I think for their first DW, nutrition is one of the easiest things to get wrong for the first time you're doing a race like this.
The thing is, they're very relaxed.
Could mean getting it wrong later.
I've also known crews who have been experienced and have got their nutrition wrong. But
That's
but
true.
these guys are very relaxed. They're still in good spirits. They're really not that bothered by the fact that they're here to complete it. So they're just here for a good time.
Here for the pizza party. So let's see. Is that maybe a little
blister patch going on?
Blister patch. Some extra hats. They've got the lights on. And this is the last boat through here tonight, I think. Right?
It is the last boat. Yeah, all the signs are coming down now.
Yeah.
Oh, a little bit of extra pizza going in.
There you go. You gotta get as much in here as you can, don't you?
I did see
food of athletes, that.
Well, yeah, I did see. I don't know who it was out of Joe and Brindy, but one of them was having potato as well. I saw when we were chatting to their crew.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be one of the best.
I'm sure it is.
I supported a crew which had roast potato nuggets, basically.
Yeah. All right.
We're good. Oh.
So definitely a longer stop, but not super long. But I think this is going to be hard for them. It's going to be a while until they see the next crew, isn't it?
You can just, I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera, but you can just see the tail lights in the distance of Nishi and Tom.
I don't think you can see it on the camera, but
no, you might just be able to see it winking. But so it's going to be interesting to see how they react to that. I mean, obviously they know that they've been overtaken. They've seen them go off. Will they slow down because of it? I don't know.
It's gonna be a while before they catch the next boat.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for us at Dreadnaught. Let's see if we can get. I think we should get some updated standings. Based on how the crews have done here. And
that's a cold
here
wind.
They are.
That is a cold
wind.
wind.
That wind is really cold. It's going to be tough for them going on here. I think we've got those updated standings on the stream now. Let's see. Check if there were any additional retirements. Yep. Okay. More retirements too. So let's give you all a few more updates. We had a shout out to the Gransons in Canoe who've made it through Marlow in 1428. And there's been a retirement from there's been a can you hold the mic? Sorry. A retirement from Graham Raymond and Georgia Kay. So that was boat 306 between Marsh and Marlow. Marsh is definitely one of those retirement hotspots. There's also been a retirement from Mark Hamilton and Julie Hamilton, boat 350 between Marlow and Bray. So we're up to a number of retirements now. The gap is tightening, if anything, between the top crews. So Tom and Anushka are still in the lead, followed by Billy Butler and John O'Grady. So Tom and Anushka through Reading or Dreadnaught reach where we are here are 7 hours 44 minutes. Billy Butler and John O'Grady are 7 hours 52 minutes. So that is 8 minutes behind Tom and Nishi. So if anything, I think Tom and Nishi seem to be just continuing to ramp up that lead. And then Andy Burkett and Tom Simmons are a minute behind Billy and John, and Joe Peterson and Brindy Kraft are basically the same speed as Andy and Tom. They're about 13 seconds apart, which is just incredibly close. So I think we are seeing potentially a bit of a lead opening from Tom and Nushi that is, 8 minutes. That's not that big of a lead, but it's significant
compared to everyone else. That is huge when it's so tight. I would point out though that Billy Butler, John O'Grady, and Joe Peterson, Bernie Kreft did not stop at Reading. They went straight through. So whether or not they have to stop slightly further down the line, which means that this obviously all of this will change. But as in, I do wonder whether Burkett and Tom will jump in front of Billy and John when that happens, and whether or not Bob Paul and Stephen Tibbett will jump up again.
But they might not need that break, and that's what Em and I were just chatting about. If they're good, they're good.
They're good. They're good. So absolutely. But at the same time, the others will work. So assuming at some point they will have to break to fuel at very least.
So it's going to be unbelievably tight. So this is 3 crews within 1 minute of each other for the 2, 3, 4 placements. We've got a little bit of a gap with the next crews. So Bob Poole and Steve Tebbett, who we just saw as the last boat here through Reading, their time is 8 hours and 6 minutes.
And at the moment they are slowing down. So we'll see what happens. They could speed up now that they're on the river, which is a place of comfort for many people. They could speed up, but at the moment, as we speak, they're slowing down slightly. So, and we did have a question in the comments about how much of a difference that rudder problem would make for them. As someone who does the canoe and the kayak, I would say it is going to be a real challenge to manage that boat without a rudder, because they're built to be navigated by rudders. So even putting in some, clever paddle strokes with the kayak, it's not really what these boats are designed for. So it's hard to. So something a lot of people underestimate is your rudder is not just there to steer you left and right. Mm-hmm. Your rudder is there also to steer you forward.
Yes,
it stops
like a
you
fin on a stand-up paddleboard.
It's to stop you snaking, and so without that you do slide all over the place. And that also generates a lot of drag with no benefit back. So
because it's just kind of flopping
around and it's absorbing energy.
You can steer a K1 a single without a rudder because you lean.
Right.
And when you've got 2 people trying to steer a boat by leaning,
that gets harder.
They're going to start leaning against each other, or they.
Now, I will say there is a plus in that I know David Horkin does descent racing, so he will be familiar with
smashing his rudder off the boat and carrying on.
Yes. He'll have some steering strokes in his back pocket. So hopefully we've kind of covered that question. Let's give an update on the canoes. So it looks like Andy and Dylan are starting to open up a bit of a lead on Mike and Sam. And it could be a 3-minute lead or more. We've seen these 2 Canadian doubles crews trading leads for since the beginning of the race, and I think it's been sort of about what we've expected. I mean, they've just been within a few minutes of each other, and the more portages we see, Mike Thornton and Sam Bowen having the edge. And then the more kind of straight canal and river, we're seeing that it's Andy Hall and Dylan Kirk getting an edge. So from here on out, it's mostly river. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Andy and Dylan kind of ramp up that gap a little bit, and especially as people who have a ton of ultra paddling races that they've done versus, you know, for Sam Bowen, this will be the first one that he's completed if they complete, which I think they will. Mike Thornton has more experience, but I think, you know, Sam is a bit less experienced in this still. So that'll be my prediction on the canoes. But I mean, a 3 minute difference at this stage is unbelievably tight. So do we have any more? If we don't have any more questions in the comments or in the chat, I think we are going to call it a wrap here. I guess let's say if anything exciting is going to happen in the next 3 or 4 hours before we're back online again, could we see some more retirements? Do we think it's going to stay pretty stable?
I think there's 1 or 2 crews that might retire in this wind.
Yeah. We were just looking. We can see some white caps forming again. So, rolling waves. We're we're just saying, wouldn't want to be on the Henley Strait right now.
yeah, and that'll be coming up.
And that will be mentally quite something. And if someone's already got a niggle, we've seen in the past. If you've got a niggle already, and then you hit rolling waves, whatever, you're tired. You could fall in, or even just it gets to a point where it pisses you off so much you go, F it, I'm off. You know, and sometimes that happens. It suddenly stops being fun.
No, that's true. This is the wind this year is really it's really making things tough on these crews. I think a lot of them who didn't put their pogies on here, which I think we all looked at a bit skeptically and said, are you sure? They've had their support crews keep the pogies on standby. So we'll expect they'll probably be taking advantage of that protection.
Some didn't have spray decks, they're putting spray decks on it.
I think I'm more skeptical of the no spray decks, to be honest. I'm very much a no pogies person unless it's about minus 10 degrees. But spray decks actually with the wind. I think
it just makes sense, doesn't it? And potential whitecaps picking up on the river
and comfort as well. It's just that little bit of extra warmth. It's a little bit more protection.
And there's not that many portages at this. I mean, there's still a lot of portages to go, but they're a lot less frequent than they were earlier. So there's not much disadvantage to having a spray deck
on the canal. I wouldn't bother, but as soon as you go onto this bit at this time of night with this wind and this temperature,
Well, I think let me just do one more check and see if there was anything else we missed. I think we've got everything. So thank you so much to everyone who's tuned in for the midnight shift. Do we have another update there?
There was some typing.
Yeah, we're just waiting on production to see if there was another update. I think we're gonna call it pretty soon.
Oh, what's a pogie? Apologies.
Good question.
So a pogie is.
It's not a glove. We call them paddle mitts. The best way to describe it is have you ever seen what bikers use on their handlebars? So it's like
the motorcycle.
But it obviously it's got holes both sides.
So the bits of fabric basically that velcro around a paddle that you then put your hands in, and they're not gloves, but they do protect your hands from the elements. And most kayakers prefer them to a glove because they don't affect the grip of the paddle.
So you're still gripping the paddle with bare hands, which is that typical paddle feel that you want, but you've got protection from the wind. They don't work on canoe paddles because you've got to switch sides, and pogies, your hands have to kind of stay in the same place. But they're I don't know where the term pogie comes from. I've always been curious about that, but it's a great word.
And you get different variations of pogie. So going from a very basic vaguely waterproof, sometimes not even waterproof material, up to neoprene, Waterproof.
I line mine with foam.
Oh.
With foam?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say with fur.
Yeah.
No, I tried fur. It just goes wet and horrible.
Yeah.
But yeah,
okay.
I use
to give you extra.
Yeah, the stuff that you use on underlay for laminate floors.
All right.
That 3mm foam, because
so your hands are nice and toasty when you.
Really cold.
Yeah.
And the problem is with my hands, I have bad circulation. So pogies really work on
makes a
the
difference.
warmth of your hand.
Right.
You know, because it's just stopping the wind essentially.
Yeah, and with the wind like this, that's why we're scared, because that wind will it absolutely hammers your hands. Yeah. All right. Well, excited to see how the crews get on overnight. We're going to catch a couple hours of rest if we can pull ourselves away from dot watching for a little bit, which might be tricky. And I think we're going to say goodbye to M as well, very sadly. And if you missed M's rubber duck themed onesie earlier, go back and check the live stream for that, because it is epic. So thank you so much, M, for being with us.
Thank you for having me. You might have regretted it, but same time next year.
Sounds good. We'll see you then. So thank you, Em, and the rest of us will see you bright and early tomorrow morning. I think between 5 and 6, but we're gonna have to check our schedules and see how the crews are getting on, because we want to catch them around sunrise and see what's happened overnight. So thanks again to everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you in a few hours, and you can continue dot watching in the meantime. Thank you very much.